Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. It is now early September and we have done things a little differently for the last 24 hours because we have integrated our horses all together. All 5 minis are now in this back field and the barnyard. We have been, up until now for the last month, separating our newest mini, Lady, from Snuggles and Sweetheart. And so just yesterday we decided to go ahead and mingle the 2 groups. Everything's going really well. So this is the first morning feeding though with everyone having been together, and that is a little different. I'll show you here. Snuggles behind me along with Shenanigans. They were able to have their little handful of grain here in the barnyard. And then I went ahead and I put Rocky and Sweetheart, you can hear Sweetheart coughing, but I went ahead and put Rocky and Sweetheart into the feedlots, which is what they used to do before we separated the group. So again, we're kind of reverting back to some of the things that we were doing prior to Lady's arrival. And Lady is having her breakfast over in the stall, which is where she has primarily been eating for the last few weeks. So, new routines. Now that we have opened up our back field, it had been resting for about the last month. Again, you know, Lady came and then we were resting fields and we did a little spraying to kill some weeds. But we've just opened up this back field as of yesterday, and that felt like the opportune time to go ahead and mix the 2 groups together. And so everything went really smoothly yesterday. The horses were so happy to come out here and eat the grass that they didn't worry too much about the pecking order and really establishing dominance. Of course, Sweetheart is gonna, I'm sure, still be at the top. I was thinking Lady might be number 2. However, this morning, I did see where Snuggles here was sort of pushing Lady around. And so it might be that it's Sweetheart, Snuggles, and then Lady. Again, they're gonna hash it out. Everyone looks great this morning. But I'm so happy to have this back field, not only for our minis to sort of be turned out on and graze upon, but it allows us now to rest the side paddock, which is where Sweetheart and Snuggles had been, because it's been grazed super low. And it also allows us to rest our front ring area, which the other 3 horses had been grazing pretty low. So I just feel like everything is going really smoothly and we seem to have just the right amount of space for everyone. So, fingers crossed everything continues to go smoothly because so far, so good.
As Lady was eating, Snuggles was very quick to come over, peek in the stall, see what she was up to. She's young, she's inquisitive, and again, she's just so curious.
I've just let Lady out of her stall. She's finished her breakfast. You know, I get the sense that she's a little uncertain of the group, you know, but again, I've just checked her over. No cuts, no marks. I do think everyone will be just fine, but it's certainly an adjustment. You know, she is an older mare and she had been very, very happy just hanging out with those 2 little boys. So I'll keep a close eye on her and see how she does. But I expect once I step out of the paddock here, she will go and rejoin them back in that field. But you can just see, you know, she's looking, she's thinking, but she's not super eager to go and join that group just yet. Hi, sweet girl. Hi, sweetie. Lady is just a very, very sweet old girl, you know. The rescue thought she was around 20. When I look at her and watch her move about, looking at her teeth, I think she's probably maybe a little closer to 30. It's hard to really say though, you know, but she's so sweet. And not that I like having her rear end here, but she's a very, very sweet old lady. And I definitely want to make sure that she's comfortable. So if the mixing of the herds end up not working, I will maybe even section her off. I mean, she's pretty independent, but I think it's in her best interest to hopefully integrate into this herd. I think everyone will figure it out pretty easily. It's just really, it's when it's dinner time or feeding time, or, you know, in the winter we're putting hay out, it's making sure that she's still getting what she needs and not constantly being run off. But I do think they'll work it out. But it's definitely something that I need to keep a very close eye on. You know, she's still just looking and watching. I saw a little flurry of activity this morning. I think perhaps she was in the stall and Sweetheart came in and everyone came busting out. But she'll figure it out. She's a smart girl. Because everyone is now on a good bit more grass, having opened up this back field, we will go back to keeping a very close eye on everyone. Another thing to be mindful of is in the fall with your grasses, the sugar contents can spike similar to how they do in the spring, and we want to make sure that no one becomes sensitive or has any sort of founder issues. So, opening up this back pasture was necessary and it's going to be a good thing, but we do need to be mindful of these little guys and how much they're ingesting. I want to show you the side paddock. I have not picked it. Again, I was out of town for several days, and although I picked the other spaces, I've not picked this field. But I want to show you that the grass that is out here has been eaten very, very short. You see a lot of brown dirt, and so with a little bit of resting and hopefully some fall showers, this field should bounce back nicely, but you can see where everything was grazed down very short. A second area that was grazed very heavily was this little back barnyard area that we had created. It allowed the horses access to the run-in off the back of the barn, and it gave them sort of their, alleyway over to the side paddock. And so this grass, you can see there's that significant distinction between where the fence line was. But again, this will bounce back. I'm sure the horses will not be grazing on it as heavily. And it's kind of the perfect time of year to give these areas a little time to rest and recover. The next area I think I want to go ahead and spray for weeds is going to be our ring here. I do have a little bit of clover in this back far corner, and we had a fair number of buttercups back in the springtime. The Japanese clover is probably considered a weed by most, and so now that we're resting our field here, it just seems like this might be the opportune time to go ahead and spray it. The horses are going to be very happy on that back field for many weeks to come, and so I think, just given the timing of everything, that might be something that we'll do perhaps this coming weekend, is go ahead and spray this field, and then we'll have 2 fields that have already been sprayed, and hopefully those weeds really killed and kept in check. So again, pasture management is a big part of living on any farm, especially a small farm. I want to show you, Lady had been standing here at the corner of the barn, sort of looking at the back field, and as Sweetheart approached, she did move on a little farther away. And again, that's normal, but as I suspected, Sweetheart, I'm pretty sure, is going to be ruling the roost. I just have to make sure that no one gets hurt. That's my job as a responsible horse owner. So I do want to keep an eye on them, but Sweetheart came in, she just pinned her ears a little. She didn't aggressively go after Lady, but she's just asserting her dominance. So that's horse behavior for you. Another thing I've done as I work to integrate my herd, knowing that there could be some dynamics that I want to be mindful of, I have kept a halter on Lady and a halter on Sweetheart, and that way, should I need to grab a hold of anyone or remove anyone in a pinch, I can do so. You're getting a good roll, a good back scratch. Doing it on the hill is kind of tricky. Well, that's a tricky spot to roll, Lady. The first thing she did yesterday, though, when she went out into the back field, was she found a nice spot to lay down and get a good roll. So, now that Sweetheart's in the stall, Lady found her opportune moment to head to the back. I have also, like I was telling you, left that halter on Sweetheart. And so she wants to come and say hi. Hi, sweet girl. But that way, if I should need to grab a hold of anyone and separate them, I can do so. I've got my shanks over here on the fence, on the gate. And so again, I'm just trying to be prepared. I feel if you're over prepared, you won't need it, but I don't want to be under prepared. Another reason we had separated the horses the way we did, and we put Sweetheart and Snuggles in the back and not in the front ring, was because the ring I was telling you had that clover, and I was beginning to suspect that the clover could have been contributing to some of Sweetheart's allergy breathing, heaviness this summer because of the bubbles she was having. And it was just weird. It was very odd. But I think the clover and the increased saliva, which it can be known to cause in the summer, was perhaps part of the issue. And so there was the least amount of clover in that side paddock, in that little teeny back barnyard, and that's where Sweetheart remained for the last month. And I'm curious to watch. Now that she's on the bigger field, even though we sprayed it and hopefully have killed clover, there could still be some more out there because it's a larger area. And so I'm going to keep a close eye on her just to make sure that she doesn't begin to have any more of those issues. She's funny. It's like I'm trying to get a picture of her and she just wants to kind of hang right here behind me. So close, I can't hardly film her, but I do want to keep a close eye on her because, again, we have changed her turnout area. And in case it is a pasture-related issue, I want to just be very conscious of that potential. So, again, I always check in on my horses every day, multiple times a day, but I want to keep a really close eye on her because she is in a new area. Lady is now back out with her little boys. It seems to be where she's most comfortable these days, remaining close to them. Shenanigans is such a sweet guy. He is trying to shield Lady as they walk through the barnyard. I'll show you. Sweetheart was here pinning her ears. He stayed between Lady and Sweetheart. And Snuggles over here behind me was pinning her ears and kind of walking towards them. And I kid you not, he sped up his pace just to get between Lady and the other girls. So he is just being such a sweet guy. Now the girls will be girls, right? No, I shouldn't say that. But my mares are the more dominant ones. It's not always the case. But to watch little Shenanigans stand right beside Lady, he was like her little bodyguard. It was just too cute. Now that we have integrated everyone together, another thing we did to try to ensure everyone's well-being was we opened both of the stalls up again. I'll also be putting hay out in the field for the next little bit. With Sweetheart's breathing condition and the new mare settling in, I don't want to be putting hay in the stalls unless I really have to due to inclement weather. And that will just give them another, safer place to eat without fear of being in close confinement. Another thing I should share with you about this, integration of the herd and their reintroduction to that back field. Not only are we watching the grass for sugar content and just general overeating that could cause other issues such as founder and laminitis, I mentioned those earlier, kind of back to our old springtime habits here, but the fall, like the spring, can be a difficult time for some horses. So be mindful. We also want to keep a really close eye on just their general weight. Sweetheart gained a lot of weight earlier in the summer, and I never knew for sure, but I suspected it could have been in part to some of the medications that she was on. It may have been water weight. She was on a steroid for a bit for her breathing condition. That could have been what contributed to some of that weight gain. And then, we had a lot of really good grass up until, I'd say, the end of July. Certainly the middle of July, if not the end of July. And so between the good grass, summertime, usually the summer burns up sooner. So with the good grass and potentially that medicine, Sweetheart here got really, really plump. And we did cut her grain way back. She's getting just a little handful. Another horse, though, that we were keeping an eye on with his weight was Rocky here. My little friend Rocky has really blossomed this summer. And he also had his grain cut back because he was getting nice and round. Now, I'm happy with where everyone is right now weight-wise, heading into winter. And we just want to be sure that they don't become too heavy, though. I think Snuggles' weight here is looking really good. And I'm still on the fence. It's like some days I'm like, oh, I think she should go home because I'm just not doing anything with her. And then some days she's such a good companion. And she's just really been a wonderful addition that I hate to see her go. So my friend and I keep going back and forth, like, should she stay? Should she go? We'll see. Time will tell. But right now, she is really happy. She looks great. And I was so, so thankful to have her as Sweetheart's companion when we separated the herd. So that was really nice. And then the other horses I have, Shenanigans is looking really good. I think his weight is perfect right where he is. Could he gain a touch more on grass heading into winter? I don't think that would be a bad thing. And then there's Lady, and we are still actively, slowly putting a little more weight on her. But again, she's older, and that might just be a lifelong thing for her. So again, here they come. Shenanigans is kind of escorting Lady, who is whizzing around Sweetheart though. She's like, take the widest route around. So again, they're figuring it out. That's what they need to do. The fact that Sweetheart maybe pinned her ears, but she's still just standing here. She was not trying to like go towards Lady or anything, so that's good. I hope you have enjoyed this little glimpse into our merging of our two groups and sort of that integration of all 5 minis. So far, it's been a really great first 24 hours. I'm really pleased with how everyone is doing, and I'll keep you up to date. So check back soon. We're always up to something, and I hope you are enjoying this really, really lovely fall weather wherever you are. Bye, guys.